Hi Jacqueline, thank you so much for doing this interview.
Thank you for inviting me.
So first of all, I just want to say something about you that I know, and then if there's anything else that you want to add, then please feel free. So for people who don't know you, this is Jacqueline Hollows, who's the founder of Beyond Recovery, who's been doing some amazing work over a number of years. And the reason why Jacqueline's here, because she actually hasn't published a book yet, but because I know her and know her well, and we're part of the same writing class, I know what an amazing writer she is. And like, people have seen glimpses of your writing in your blog, but they've seen nothing yet, have they? and you're currently writing a book, and you're a long way into it, about your whole experience of working in Beyond Recovery and in the prisons, and your journey. And I've been privileged enough to see some of that already. And it just seemed like, even though it's not published yet, it seemed like a really good time to have this conversation.
Yeah, really exciting.
Yeah. So is there anything that you wanted to add before I launch in and ask you a question?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So I asked this question of everybody to start off with, and then we'll see where it goes. But I'd be really interested to know how it all started for you, the writing. Is it something that is this a recent phenomenon for you? Is it something that you've done a long time? How did it all start?
I would have said I can't write. I couldn't express myself through writing. I remember quite a few years ago there was an app called Audio Boom, and basically on a daily basis I would do little audio booths and tell people about my journey and things like that. And I felt like that was my medium, is that I can speak, I can be passionate in my speaking, but I couldn't write. I couldn't write in that way. And I did a few like LinkedIn blogs and things like that, if I had to do for work, but I didn't feel like I could express myself. But as it happened, I kept lots of notes on, because the journey of starting the non-profit, from an IT background, nothing to do with mental health, nothing to do with prisons, and starting that was such a change, such a pivot, that I kept notes of all the sessions and what I was seeing along the way, and I just had bags and bags of notes. And I wrote a few blogs about it, and I sort of got into that a little bit, but I didn't see myself as a writer. And then 2 years ago, a friend of mine who is published author said, "Have you written that book yet?" And she's been encouraging me to write a book. "Have you written that book yet?" And I said, "Oh, well, no, I was gonna, I don't know," and all this. Anyway, I got out my boxes, and literally my whole living room was covered with boxes of paper of all these notes that I'd made over the years, and notebooks and things. And I thought, I'll organise them. So I started organising them. And that was really the start of the idea of the book. And then this friend said, "Oh, we're going on a writer's retreat near you on a canal boat, and there's 6 of us, and come along, and we'll write in the morning and we'll read in the afternoon." And I said that I thought I would, but then the thought of spending all that time with strangers on a canal boat, I thought, I'm not really sure I want to do that. But it sparked the idea of a writing retreat. And of course, like these things do, then I kept seeing writing retreats everywhere. People that I know that teach the same thing that I teach, saying, "Oh, we're starting writing retreats," and all sorts of things like this. And then a friend of mine got in touch with me, and she said, "Just just thought I'd let you know. Am I allowed to say names?
Yes,
um,
absolutely. Yeah.
Christine Higgins, so she got in touch with me and she said, "Oh, just so you know, because I knew she was writing a book, I'm working with this amazing writing coach, and I thought I'd introduce you. She's starting up some writing classes." And I thought, oh, maybe, but my diary's always full.
Yeah.
I've got so many things to do. I don't know. I don't want to overcommit. So I said, I'll think about it. And then I think she got in touch again and she said, oh, this lady's name's Jules. Jules saw you at a conference. So I speak at conferences, and I spoke at a conference in London, and I'd read out a letter from one of the guys in prison.
I remember.
And yeah, and Jules was at that conference, and she was impacted by this letter. And then there was a little bit of backstory about Jules that made it all seem like, oh yeah, this is the right person. I clearly have to do this course. So I signed up for her course in I think it was January 19, and went on this amazing journey. And I would say became a writer through that. Uncovered my voice, if you like, uncovered that, and then I've been working with Jules ever since, and she's helped me with the book, and yeah, there's a whole load of other things on the back of that, but that was the start.
Yeah, and that's an amazing program. I was on that as well, and still am. Still on that.
Yeah,
it's a great program, isn't it? So
it's incredible. It taught me a lot about me, as well as it wasn't your standard writing program. The things I've learned about writing, I've sort of learned on YouTube or other things, other programs, but that taught me about how to find my own voice. And through that discovery, I discovered more about myself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, absolutely amazing.
Yeah. That's one of the things I absolutely love about writing. It's like what I learn about myself through my writing. Just it astounds me sometimes.
Yeah.
So tell me about your writing process now then. Like what's the writing process, and I'm also interested in, has it shifted and changed while you've been writing your book?
For sure. So there was a period of time where it was full on, I was into it and I was writing and I was moving things around. And what I came to realize is Jules actually and yourself came and visited me one time, and what I found after that was that I actually had just a load of notes. I didn't have a book. I thought I had a book, and it would be a case of, we'll just put all that together and we'll publish it. Little did we know. And I discovered through the very gentle but firm way that Jules talks, is that I actually had a load of notes, and some of them, it was very disparate. So there was a fair amount of work to pull all that together. So there was a whole, when you get a new idea and you're so enthusiastic about it, there's a whole period of time where I was collating stuff and writing stuff and putting it together. But the book itself changed form a lot along that way, as I learned more, and as I sort of discovered more about what I wanted to write and what I wanted to put in and what I wanted to leave out. So there was a very ad hoc process for quite some time, where I would pick it up, write for lots of days on a trot, and then I wouldn't look at it for months. And that wasn't too good, because every time then when I came back to it, it was like a whole, right, what are we doing again and how's this going? But I feel now that was just part of the process. And then more recently, the book is in 3 acts and follows the sort of arc of the hero's journey. And I'd come to a place where I thought, I'm done. The book is done. and now needs to be polished. So I spent a lot of time editing, but then I realized I needed a process. So I've looked at all different processes like you have, and studied what other people have done and things like that. And I've really seen that you have to find something that suits you, but that little and often is a big key. So I'd created a space where I would write and just go into that space, even if I didn't write, helped me because ideas would come. It's like the space for writing was there, so ideas would come, or I'd be contemplating things. And then I attempted to write something on a regular basis. And then the latest iteration of that was that I realised that I still, because I run a business and lots of other things and always juggling a lot of plates, I realised that I needed something a bit more solid. And I was very fortunate to be able to take you on as my accountability partner, or whatever. It sounds a bit formal, but you know, my coach really, to help guide me to the finishing line. And through talking to you, I realised what works for me is setting a commitment, and setting a commitment that isn't going to overwhelm me. So at that time, I got to a point where I thought, right, 30 minutes a day is something that is bite size. I know I can do it. And even if I miss one day, the next day I know I'll get back onto it. And I would have thought you couldn't achieve much in 30 minutes a day. And I've been absolutely astonished. I said to you at the start of that, 30 minutes a day to finish editing. And literally I sort of worked out how much I could get done in that 30 minutes. And sometimes that, you know, it's 40 minutes or even an hour, but the commitment is 30 minutes. And I managed to get through the rest of the editing and until I got to the final act. And one of the things about the regular, it's like a thread. It's like you've never let go of I've never let go of the thread of the book. Mm-hmm. And the book, because of the regular, and it's usually at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. So there's a regular time and there's a regular place and there's a regular commitment. Something to do with that process meant that the book started to speak to me much more. I had a feeling of it. Mm-hmm. I feel quite emotional when I talk about it. But I'd know, for instance, the other day I decided to rewrite Act 3, which isn't as dramatic as it sounds. It just needed a bit more polishing up and so on. And I was looking at a chapter, and I've included diary entries through the thread of the book. And I was looking at this chapter, and I knew it was wrong, or not quite how I wanted it to be, but I couldn't think how I wanted it to be. So I kept looking at it and I couldn't think how to, but it was a feeling rather than, if you read the words, you would say, yeah, it's fine. Yeah. But it was a feeling, and I just kept looking at it and I thought, no, it's not right. So I'm not going to do anything. So I left the work for that day, came back to it the next day. I think on the third day, I still felt stuck, but then there was like a shift where I'd got a really long diary entry, and I thought, oh, it's just the diary entry is too long. That needs to be part of the body, and the diary entry needs to be more juicy. And so I rewrote the chapter, absolutely perfect. So it is like it speaks to me now, and I don't always know what it's saying, mm-hmm. but I know there's something there. And I think that it makes a far better product than if I was just banging out the words, you know, in 30 minutes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely just sitting here in awe, because I thought that this would be a really lovely conversation, because you're in the middle of all of this, of doing it. And it's just like, I think that people forget this part of it, when the book is done and dusted. So I'm just so grateful to be having this conversation with
It's
you.
true. It's true.
Yeah.
Yes. You sort of, it's done. You put it out your mind like childbirth. Don't remember what it was really like. Just the good bits.
Yeah. So would you say something about the editing process then? Like, I don't know, anything at all about the editing process, like how you got started with the editing, how you know, what's your process for editing?
So I don't want to put anyone off.
No.
I really sort of encourage anyone who thinks they want to write, just write. That's just the start. Just do that. And you'll discover things along the way. I know that if I'd have known everything at the beginning, I might not have started.
Yeah.
So there's a caveat here. I have the thought at the beginning that I thought I'd just be able to put the book together and that's it, you know, and maybe some people can because they can hand it to someone else who does all of that, the rest of the stuff. But I'm on my 5th draft of this book right now. And when I got to Act 3, part of the reason why it needs a rewrite is it had less attention than the other 2 acts, which of course came earlier, so they had a lot more attention. And I could really see that once I looked at it in the whole. So the first bit of process was really just reading it all and seeing what makes sense. I had a story editor, Jules is also a story editor, and Jules looked at it from a story point of view as to the flow and things. So there was a lot of change there. Obviously time is passing as well while that's happening. So new ideas are occurring and so on. So that, you know, there were changes along the way. But when it came to that full stop that day when I went, that's it now, there's no more addition to this, I'm just going to edit. There are some things that I'd picked up in the writing school that I didn't know when I started it. So it's taken me, you know, 18 months, maybe 2 years to write this book. So there were things that I know now that I didn't know then. So I'm a recovering project manager. So I made a spreadsheet of all the things that I had to do, of all the chapters. So for instance, I wanted to take out the adjectives, adverbs. I wanted to take out the adverbs.
In simpler terms, words that end with ly.
Yes, so totally and absolutely and clearly. Suddenly was one that I used a lot. And look for words that I used a lot. You know, there was a lot of repetition, and there was a whole row of things that I wanted to look at and improve on. So I went through piece by piece and just, you know, made sure I checked off on the list. Yeah, have a look at all of those things. And then the next draft, so that was about draft 3. And then the next draft, I was looking at it from, again, like an overview point of view, like is it all still working? Does it all still flow? And then more recently, as I said, I've got these diary entries in, and sorry, before I come to that part, I've heard you talk about this before, but one of the, when you learn some techniques, like I'd learned this technique about called Redden Song, and it's something that I love. So it's something that orators use, and it's like when you say everyone should write, everyone should experience the world of writing, everyone should get their work out there. Like you keep repeating something, and it's passionate, and I love it, and I know you love it, and it was everywhere. So then as a more mature writer, I look back and go, oh, too much. So I started stripping that out. So there were things like that, you know, as I matured and as I learned things along the way, I went back and I'd look at pieces and go, oh, and edit them in that way. And then more recently, I realised that my diary entries, some of them worked well, and some of them looked like just part of the chapter. And I realised, oh, they're in the same voice. So I then researched diary entries and listened to Anne Frank, Diary of a Young Girl, and sort of got a voice for myself of what my diary entries might look like. And then I just edited the diary entries, and I wish I could show you my other wall, but I've got a wall with big post-it notes all over it about the diary entries. So I've just been looking at that and seeing is there a flow there? Do they all work? And then do they tie in at the end? You know, if I've spoken about something here, have I finished that story there? Is there a redemptive nature, which is the book is meant to be redemptive? So, you know, is there a redemptive nature to that story if I finished it off? So that's the latest one, until I came to this Act 3 and realised it needed rewriting. So I'll have to go back to the diary entries after that.
Yeah.
But it's almost like you've said, sorry.
I was going to say, I love how you use the visualising your book on the wall, because I've seen it as you've been going along. Just say a bit about how you do that and why you do that.
So why I do it is because when I'm into the book and the writing, it's so focused, and so I'm only seeing the chapter that I'm writing or the piece that I'm writing at that time. And I like to see an overview of where I'm at, and does that work still with the overview? And in fact, I've stripped out quite a few chapters that when I've taken a step back, I've gone, oh, well, that isn't even, it's not even interesting, you know, like why are you telling people about that, you know? And I've stripped the chapter out. So there's that, and the other why of that is that making sure it follows that narrative arc, which I didn't even know about when I started writing. I was just writing. Oh, then this happened. Oh, then that happened. And oh, here's a diary entry. So as I learned more about narrative arc and things like that, I then realised, like, I have to make sure it's following that journey. The how I do it is in different ways at different points. So for me, having a great big, you know, thank goodness for Post-its, but having a great big Post-it sticky thing and being able to draw on there or write on there what's going on gives me that visual overview. So I've done that with the whole story, and then I've done it with the each chapter is on the wall and each of the Post-it notes are on the wall. I can't turn it around because you'll see the rest of my room, my messy room.
Yeah, that's okay.
And what that does is that gives me that ability to step back and look at it as a whole thing. And because I did that, that was when I was able to see, oh, which is, Act 3 isn't enough. It's not juicy enough. It's not strong enough. It doesn't stand on its own, which is obvious when you think about it, because it's the last one that I wrote. You're sort of exhausted by the time you've got to there. And there's many books that it's strong start, you sort of, yeah, you're going along in the middle, and then you're like, oh, you get a bit worn out at the end.
Yeah.
And I think the author or the writer has got worn out. And by stepping back, I got to see that. I got to see how strong the rest of it was, but that one just didn't really work. So it's both, isn't it? It's sort of narrowing in and focusing in on what you're doing and getting on with what you're doing and just keeping that going. And then occasionally having that ability to step back. And for me, visual works really well. And I'd have Post-it notes on the wall there, you know, to encourage me, if you like, and keep me going. Or I might have a board up for ideas. So as I think of them, I don't lose them. I just pop them on the board, but I don't let them distract me from what I'm meant to be doing. So this month I'm meant to be editing. I'll stick to the editing, but I'll put that Post-it on the board.
I love how disciplined you are with it all.
It doesn't feel like that.
No.
You know, it feels like I think I have to be organised and disciplined because I'm not really.
Mm-hmm.
So I give myself processes. I'm much more impulsive and a bit more chaotic, and I give myself processes to rein myself in a little bit. But again, you know, I'll also let go of the reins and see where I go.
Yeah.
Like the chapter that I knew was wrong, I didn't force my way through it. I just kept coming back to it and sort of letting that space tell me what I needed to know, which I just didn't know, and then I did know.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of both, really.
Can I just check? Are you okay for time if we keep on going just for a little bit longer?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've still got too many questions. But anyway, so what about gremlins? What are your gremlins, and how do they impact on?
Yeah. So thinking that I'm not good enough and that I'm a bit of a fool for even thinking that anybody would want to read something. The biggest example was that, and I mean that when I said that just then, like I said it really calmly, but inside I'm going, oh yeah, yeah. And the biggest example of that was I've entered a few competitions, and the only reason I'd love to win one, but the real reason I did it was to get feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Is to put stuff out there and see, does that work? You know,
Yeah.
what happens when you put that out there? What feedback do you get? And it's a great way of doing that, of getting that. And you get different feedbacks from different things. And the first competition I decided to enter, I got my piece ready. I was sat in bed on my laptop on a Sunday morning, and I was literally about to press submit, and I was just, the voices in my head drowned out, and they were nasty, you know, like, who do you think you are putting this out? Who wants to read this drivel? I mean, it was literally just like a whole load of ghosts from Christmas past had come into the room and just were, you know, really barbing me. I felt absolutely dreadful. I went into a cold sweat. I shrunk, you know, I wanted to disappear. And fortunately, you know, I got my little finger out and just pressed submit quick. And I thought, he's gone now. and they disappeared. And I realized that, you know, they come up from time to time, they pop in from time to time, but I realized that that's just something everybody has. It's just an insecure thought that comes into my mind and tells me I'm not good enough, and it's a bit of a habit as well. And it doesn't matter how many people tell you you're brilliant, or that's awesome, or, you know, I'm blown away by what you've written. You look at your own work and go, really, you know, that's a load of pants. And then there's extremes of that, so that's a big one. But I've learned to ignore it and just carry on regardless. And it fades, you know, most of the time. Other gremlins are haven't got enough time. Haven't got enough time, can't do this, when's it going to get finished, you know, all of that. I've recently become a runner, and I liken it to that, is that there are mornings that I've got a schedule for running. I know when I'm going to run and I know what I'm going to do, because again, that discipline helps me. If I don't have that, I tend to make excuses and not do it. So I know the mornings I'm going to run, so I'll come in and write, and then I'll get ready for the run. And in the early days of doing that, I only started in August. In the early days of doing that, the voices of your knees are bad, you know, why are you doing this anyway, you can't, just literally constant, just bleh, bleh, bleh. And I just learned to ignore them and just get my stuff on and get out the door. And now they do occur, but they're not so loud. And so now I'm just like, oh yeah, no, that's just you know, that's just that, whatever that is. And it's the same. It's exactly the same. So the voices go, you haven't got enough time. Why are you doing this? This is another thing. And I'm just like, well, okay, thank you for your input.
Yeah.
I'm carrying on.
I love that. Thank you for your input. But I've been seeing it like both of us have been on a very similar kind of journey. You know, our paths have been kind of going along the same route, which I've absolutely loved. It's been a delight. And I know exactly what you mean with the running. It's like, you know, I never thought I would be able to run for 30 minutes. And my head still tells me I can't do it. And it is the same, like what you said about, you know, you can't judge your own writing. How many times have we seen that in writing class?
Oh, yeah.
Judge their own writing.
Yeah. We were in the summer school, weren't we? Summer school class, 8 writers. It was like a refresher. And every week people would turn up and read pieces that were mind-blowing. Yeah. and you'd go, wow. And the person themselves, like, we read our piece and then we look at, every week still, whenever I'm on Jules's classes, I'll think, oh, well, this is the one I've chosen. I mean, really rarely, really occasionally, there'll be something that I go, I know that's good. Yeah. But mostly, you know, 90% of the time, I'll read it thinking, I hope I got it right. I hope I'm not going to get told off, you know. I'm like, yes, like Jules is a taskmaster, but she isn't. And then I'll look up and people are impacted, or people are blown away. And I get all this feedback and I think, really? Oh, okay. Exactly. I think we all have exactly the same experience. It's like when I'm reading mine, it's like, this seems so ordinary compared to the other people as well. Yeah. Ordinary. It's like, oh, I wish I could write like them, and I wish I could write like, you know, I wish I could write like Jacqueline. And but it's, I think you and I both have come to realize that, like, our voice is the thing that is the strongest thing about us. And even if we can't judge our own writing, something that we know now is that nothing else will be writing with our own voice, and our own voice is what's unique about us, isn't it? Yeah. And it's so lovely, and like, you just can't, because it's, I think for me, what I realised, it's like I've known my own voice for 58 years, well, maybe 55, maybe I was about, you know, however long that we've been talking. So it just feels really ordinary. I've just got used to it. But yes, on paper, to somebody else, when we are writing with our voice, which is one of the things we really learn, you'd think it would be easier than it sounds easier than it is, isn't it? But yes, one of the things, the first things you learn with Jules. So it's interesting, you know, you just saying that, because we've as a company, we've written this distance learning pack, and it's beautiful, and it's beautifully put together, and they're beautiful exercises, and it's very professional and branded beautifully and all of those things. But we came to realize that when we're there, the men will do the work, but when we're not there, they won't necessarily pick it up and do it themselves. So we spoke to the lads that work with us, that have lived experience of prison, and one of the lads this weekend started talking about what he would say in the front of that book, and what I heard was, write like you talk, because I heard that's exactly what we know, because he said it as he would say it, and then the man's going to pick that up and he's going to hear that in the words. So that's been a big lesson for me. Write like you talk. Find your own voice. Don't try and be like somebody else's, even when everybody else sounds better than you in your head. All right. So before we finish, so the book isn't published yet, and I'm definitely going to do another interview when it is. But can you just say a bit about, like, where you think where you're going from here in terms of getting it out into the world? So my intention is to have this published in spring of next year, early spring. I don't know what that journey particularly looks like right now, because I haven't been there yet, but that is the intention. I'd like to do that. because I've got ideas of having a website to go with it and things like that. So I need to work on other things, and I want to do an audio version, and then I've got loads of ideas for other books that I want to write. So that's the other reason why I want to finish it off. So the next part of the journey is finishing this act, having another look at the diary entries, and then getting a line editor, so somebody else, fresh pair of eyes, who's just focused on grammar and spelling and punctuation and all of those things, to polish it off. I've now decided on my cover, so that needs to get designed, and I think I've got the name. So, you know, it's like each piece of the jigsaw comes along the way.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why I couldn't publish in early spring, I think. I'm more than likely going to do self-publishing. But if a publisher likes what they hear, then please do get in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I probably will query agents as well, even while I'm doing the self-publishing, because it's just a fun thing to do. It's an interesting, it's an interesting journey. I'd like to learn about that journey.
Yeah.
And who knows, I may be the next big topic that they want to publish. So it's worth giving a go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that's been absolutely brilliant. So one last question. I don't know if I said that was the last question, but there is one last question. Sorry. So for people who are just starting on their journey now, they think they want to write a book, or they've got started and maybe got a bit stuck. What would you say to people at that stage of the journey?
So I'd say two different things. So to people who want to write, just start writing. Just start jotting your ideas down. Don't get too caught up with all the hows and whys and everything else and editing, and do it in a way that means you don't switch your editor on. So for me, I had to write in a journal. I can do it now where I can switch that off and just write on the computer. But find a way that's meaningful to you. If it's voice notes or jotting things in a little journal while you're out and about, I would say always carry either a packet of post-it notes or a little book with you. Because I get ideas all the time, and I don't do that I just gave the advice on, but I wish I did.
Do what I say and not as I do.
Yes. And just, let that have its way with you. Let those ideas come out and just start. I highly recommend Jules's programs. For anybody, even if you're at the stage where you're just interested in writing, like you don't even have to write a book, you don't even have to write anything. It just teaches you so much about creative expression and so on. So I'd highly recommend that. And for someone who's stuck, same advice. I think one of the biggest things for me has been the little writing group that we've got.
That's been
so find yourself a writing buddy, or someone that you resonate, and that may change over time. It changed for me, but find yourself a circle of people who are interested in writing and who you get along with, and even if you haven't written a thing yet, you can start talking, and you just end up getting led that way. And we've got a little writing circle, and the encouragement and support and love in that group, no matter where you're at on the journey, we all feel like we're there for each other and we support each other. So that's been a real big support group for me. And don't be intimidated by all the stuff. Just start from where you're at right now, and those things will slot into place as you go along, and it's fun, so give it a go.
So how do people find you? I know you've got an author website and you've got your Beyond Recovery, so do you just want to say a bit about if people want to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
So if anyone Googles Jacqueline Hollows, they can usually find me. I come up quite high on Google. But also I have an author's website, JB Hollows is my author's name. I have a Facebook page. Beyond Recovery has a Facebook page. We have Twitter. Yeah, I think it's quite easy to find me. Beyond the website for Beyond Recovery is www.beyond-recovery.co.uk. But yeah, I think it's relatively easy to find me, or find Ria, and she'll find me. Oh, and I do want to say one last thing as well that I completely forgot, is that Maria is an amazing writing coach, editing, helping people get their work out into the world. Absolutely amazing. And so just get in touch with her, and if she's not the right person for you, she will tell you who the right person is or where to go next. So you'd be lucky to be on one of her courses.
Thank you, Jacqueline. That was I didn't expect that.
It's true though.
Thank you so much. Okay. And we'll see you again when you're just before or just after your book's published.
See me on the other side.
Because I think it'll be great to find out how your journey is different compared to how you think it's going to be going forward.
Yes.
That's a really useful thing for people to hear about. So
yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, that's been brilliant. Oh, I'm really so pleased that we did this today.
Oh, really, thank you.
Loved it. So thank you so much.
I loved it as well. Thank you.